Hello everyone, welcome back. In this lecture, we are going to look at how we can set up a configuration server which can serve configurations to our REST services. So the idea of configuration server is that all our services will be getting the configuration from the configuration server and they don't have their own configuration locally. And then the configuration server can have security applied. So the configuration is secure and the authentication details will only be known to the services which are calling the configuration server. So let's dive into it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Spring Initializer. And I think all the settings are fine. Java, Maven, and this says 3.5.6. I'm going to change it to nco.college and config server or run server. Okay, and run server for the application, right? And here I am going to select the dependency config server and I will generate. Okay, and paste it here, extract it, and delete the zip file. Go back to VS Code and I will see my configuration server here. So the code is exactly where we were. So my all the REST services are working and that's where the code was. So I have started from that point. Now let's go inside the configuration server. Same like before, I'm just going to remove the clutter and only keep src and pom. Okay, go inside this, go inside resources. So that is my configuration server application properties. I will add port equal to, let's say, this. Let's go inside pom. I will change it to 3 because that's the version I am running on my this system, and to make sure everything is all right, so I'm going to use the same version. And if you see here, there is only one dependency which is needed, and which is the Spring Cloud configuration server. That is all you need. The second thing you need to do is you go to your application file and you will say enable configuration server, and I think that is all you need. You will just put the import the configuration server, save it. So this is going to start the configuration server for you. Okay, so I have imported the configuration server into my main application, and I have added the configuration server in my POM. Next, and I have these two settings in my configuration server application properties file. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tell it that my configuration server is going to be using the configuration from local. So we are going to set up configuration server in two ways. In this session, the configurations are going to be local to the configuration server. And then in the next session, we will have the configurations on a URL. And then we are going to actually do a little more, and we will have a setting so that we can have both the type of configuration servers in our both the type of configuration in our configuration server. So which means we can have a setting which will toggle the configuration either on local to the configuration server or on the URL. So in this one, the configuration is going to be local, and this setting tells that the configuration server need to look at the local. So now I am going to create a folder here and name it config. Now the next thing is I'm going to transfer all my configurations from my REST services to this folder. So I will go in API gateway and copy the configuration and paste it here. Now, the only thing you need to take care of when you look in the API gateway application properties, the application name should be exactly in the properties file. So the properties file name should be application name dot properties. So I named it API gateway dot properties. Okay. Similarly, we will go in core service and copy and paste inside the configuration server config folder we just created. And I am going to name it core service dot properties. Same like I am going to do for others quickly. Okay, so I have all my configurations transferred to the configuration server, API gateway.properties, core service.properties, and so on. So there are 5, and I have also transferred the configuration for the service discovery. So I have 5 configuration files plus 1 configuration file for the configuration server. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is in my local or in my REST service application properties, there has to be only 2 settings. One is application name, and the second is going to be the location of the configuration server. Okay, so I have added the configuration server URL to my API gateway, which is spring.config.import and then config server colon http localhost 8888. So my configuration server, if we go back, is running on 8888. And config server is a keyword, so that is going to remain same always, whatever be the name of your configuration server. Okay, fine. These two settings we are just going to look in a moment. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy these to all my REST services. So I will go to my core service and remove everything except application name and paste it. So why do we need these two? This one helps finding the REST services where the configuration server is, and this will help the application find what is the name of the properties file. So it is going to look at core service.properties file in the configuration server. Next is enrollment. So again, So all my files are done. Now what I'm going to do is, this should be config server. Save it. Okay, so the first thing needs to be done is run the config server. Let's run it. And it says it is running on port 8888. So this looks good. Now to make sure that the configuration server is serving your configuration files, what we can do is we can go to the browser and let's try. So now let's say I want to see if it is serving the API gateway configuration. So what I'm going to do is I will say API gateway and then default. And I am able to see all my API gateway configuration. So this means my configuration server is working fine and I can try to run the other applications. So the next thing is I need to run the discovery service first, because then other REST services needs to be registered with the discovery service. So I will go here and run. So if it discovery service is able to fetch the configuration, it will fetch its own configuration and it should start on 8761. We see some error here and it says unable to load config data from the server. And this actually happened because we don't have the configuration client dependency added to our REST services. So let's go to, I'm going to actually copy the POM dependency from my configuration server, and let's go to the service discovery POM file, and at the probably here I will add. So this is actually a client, so I am going to say it's a client. Now I will try again to run my discovery service and let's see what happens. Okay, it ran. And to test it, let's try this URL. If our service discovery is running on this port, this means it was able to fetch all the configuration from the configuration server. And it should be okay. So our service discovery is working fine. Let's run one REST service. So I'm going to run API gateway. Okay, so we need to add the same dependency for the configuration client in our API gateway POM as well. So I'm going to copy it here, copy from here and paste it, save it, and run API gateway. So if all goes well, API gateway should be running on port 9004 and should be able to register with the service discovery. So I think it's working. It is running on port 9004. You can see, let's go to the browser and refresh, and I can see API gateway. So that's how you set up a configuration server. Now all the settings, all the application properties are inside configuration server, and my REST services are fetching all these configuration from the configuration server as if these configuration files are local to the services. Okay. I'm going to stop it, and what I'm going to do is, now anyone can go to browser and let's say they can look at my configuration. Okay. Okay, configuration server is not running. So what I'm going to do is now next, I'm going to put security on my configuration server. So for that, I will go back to my code, and inside configuration server POM file, I will add Spring Security. So I have added this, save it, and let's run the configuration server again. Oh yeah, and one more thing, I will go in my application properties for the configuration server and add a username and password. So I will say admin and password is also admin. Okay. Now let's see. Run your configuration server and let's try to grab the API gateway configuration. And you see, now it is asking for a authentication detail. So no, anyone cannot just go and look at your configuration unless the person is authorized. So I will say admin and admin, and now I can see the configuration. So the same thing we are going to do in our services. So let's go to your service discovery, and in service discovery application properties, I am going to say that the configuration URL, configuration username is admin and configuration password is admin. So this is different compared to the configuration server properties we added. We here said the Spring Security username and password. And here we are saying Spring Cloud config username and password. So let's run it. And it should be able to fetch the configuration using the authentication details we provided in the application properties. And that's it. Let's see. I'm going here and I refresh and I can see it's working. Let's go back to my API gateway and uncomment it, save it, and run your API gateway as well. Okay, so it said it is running on this. It should be saying, yeah, it registered with the discovery client here. So all looks good. Let's go to the browser, refresh your Eureka dashboard, and I can see API gateway. So that's all. Everything is working. So what we did is we created a configuration server, kept the configuration locally to the configuration server, and then put the necessary settings in the REST services, which are the application name and the URL of the configuration server, plus the authentication details for the configuration server if you have applied Spring Security on the configuration server. And that is all. You update your POM file. In the configuration server, you will add configuration server dependency, and in the REST services, you will add configuration client dependencies. And that's how you should be able to make your configuration server working. And your configurations will be served from the configuration server rather than having them locally. So that's all for this session. In the next session, we are going to look at how we can have these configurations transferred on the web to some web URL. rather than having locally to the configuration server, and also apply a authentication or security, so that somebody who wants to connect with your configuration server or look at the configuration needs authentication details. So for that, we are going to use Git as our URL. We are going to create a Git repo, apply security to it, and then we will try to connect it. That's we are going to do in our next session. For this session, this is all. I hope you were able to understand this. So I request that you go and you know uh, try this, setting up the configuration server in your application and see how it goes. So thanks for watching, and bye for now.